So, you've got 6 people around the table, and they want to play a game, and they're not going to split up into 2 groups. Well, it's a good thing that I'm here, because I'm going to save your day. I got 10 more excellent games that play at 6 players. Now, the Mike, Tom, and Z all did a list of top 10 great games for 6 players, and I was going to call this one the correct 10 games for 6 players, but I have to admit that they got a few right, so this one's 10 more great games for 6. Let's get it started. Said, I must reluctantly agree that the other guys did a good job of listing out a lot of good games, particularly of note that would have made my list. Possibly 7 Wonders, probably Camel Up, but most definitely For Sale. Fantastic auction game. But you already had 25, 30 good recommendations there, but here's 10 more in case you are looking for that great 6-player game. I'm going to start off with number 10, Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns is a game where it's a bingo's calling game, right? There's a few different resources, cubes, you put out into a grid on your board, and you want to make different shape combinations of those different types of resource cubes. Once you've done one that fulfills a recipe to build a building, you take them off of there, and you put a building into one of those spots that was there. It works great with any player count. With 6, there's a lot of tension because you go around the table, I call wood. Everybody has to put a wood cube out. The next person says glass. This is a fictional situation. I say brown, everyone puts a brown cube. The next person says blue. I never call them the right resources because they're just colored cubes to me. But then the next person calls out, red. Everybody puts a red resource out. Hey, I got a little combo here. Build a building. Awesome. The game works really well with any player count. With 6, you are running into that issue where you only get to pick one out of every 6 resources. So there's a lot of tension, a lot of stress in there to make these good combos, but I like that. So that's my number 10, Tiny Towns. Number 9 is a train game called Paris Connection. Paris Connection is the name of the Queen Games printing of it. It was called something different before when it was a Winsome game. These games are notable for being very, very small, very quick, very easy rules, and quick playing train games. Now, if you don't like train games, pick something more exciting for this spot, like 6-player Power Grid or something. Actually, 6-player Power Grid is good. But I'm recommending Paris Connection because there's 6 different colors of train companies, and on your turn you simply place a few trains on the map, or you're taking trains and putting them behind your player's screen. You can only hold a certain number of trains behind your player's screen, but at the end of the game you're going to multiply the number of blue trains you have back there times the number of blue's value in the game. Very, 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 very simple stock market game. Really recommend it. Fast turns. A lot can kind of change as it gets closer to the end of the game. People don't want to push the end yet. They want to change their stocks. You can kind of rush the end, or you can kind of slide around with them as well. And so, really recommend it if you can find it. Very approachable. Literally one sheet of rules. Paris Connection's great. My number 8, one of the best welcoming games, gateway games that I've found. I've had so much success with Suro, the way of the path, or the game of the path. This is a tile-laying game. You have a little dragon pawn on a big open grid. You place a tile in front of you, and then you move your dragon piece along the line that your new tile has made, it has formed. Your goal is to not fly off the edge of the board or crash into another dragon. That's really compelling. It's easy to teach. But I still have a lot of fun with it, even as an experienced and seasoned gamer. And so I have so much joy teaching this one to people. This one's great because people understand those 2 things. Don't fall off the edge of the board. Don't crash into someone. But that joy, that moment when 2 dragons are near each other and you lay a tile that lets you move yourself, and then you send someone else careening off the map. Yes, that's what this game is about. It plays super quick, and you can just reshuffle the tiles, play it again. I find that people usually want to play this at least 2 times in one sitting, so that's my number 8, Suro, one of my best favorite welcoming games. Number 7, Magic Maze. This is a silent cooperative game in which you control 4 pieces on the map, but you can only control a single direction of movement. I can move any of the 4 pieces but only up. And then another player at the table can only move them left, and another player can only move them right and down and so on. And so you are trying to move these pawns and manipulate them around, but you can't talk with the other people at the table. And so you have to, I move something north or up, and I'm hoping that someone else realizes we need them to move left, and then I can move them back up north. There's a little communicator pawn. If you want to have fun in this game, do not slam the red pawn in front of people. Set it in front of them and say, hey, I really need you to move a piece to the left. And they'll look around. People can't think if you're slamming this pawn in front of them, but I like this game a ton because I like that stress, the real-time cooperative stress of it. It's fantastic. The theme is hilarious. The reason that you're doing all this puzzling is because 4 fantasy, warriors and archers and stuff lost their weapons, so they said, let's go rob a shopping mall. Games that teach good morals. But I really like Magic Maze so much. And at 6, it's a good balance of you aren't controlling multiple directions, but also when you get up to 8 players, then multiple people are controlling, ups and downs and stuff. So 6 that's a good player count for this one, and it works really well. It keeps everybody engaged. All right, my number 6 is a game that I don't hear anybody talk about. This is Pit Crew. Yes, there are 2 Pit Crews that came out. The Pit Crew from 2017. Yes, there's 2 Pit Crews that came out in 2017. This is the Jeff Engelstein Stronghold Games Pit Crew. This is a game, it's a racing game, but the theme is that you are not the NASCAR driver. You're the pit crew. You got to change tires and refill up the gas tank. And then if you play on the harder mode, you flush the radiator. There's a 5th task you got to do, or a 6th task. You got to change 4 tires, refill the fuel, and then optionally another thing. And you do this in real time by playing cards out. You and your teammate are trying to play out cards as fast as you can to complete these tasks. Once you've completed them, you grab a die and you start rolling it. And if you hit 6s, then you move the NASCAR in 1 space forward on the track for each 6 you hit. The second team finishes, they start rolling a die, moving forward. When the third team finishes, you stop. The racing portion of it stops, and then you start another pit crew phase. But what happens is brilliant. Most real-time games, if you accidentally mess something up, oops, we weren't supposed to have finished that yet, we accidentally cheated, oh well. With this one, you get punished. The other cars move forward if you didn't change your tire correctly, or if you didn't put enough gas in the fuel tank. And so working fast is great, but you also are punished if you work inaccurately. It's really great at 6 players because you want to have 3 teams. There's rules where you can play 2 teams, but that's just not as fun. You want the stress and the dynamic of 3 teams. So 6 players is perfect because you're split into 3 teams, 2 people each, working with someone else trying to complete these tasks. So much fun. Underrated racing game, underrated real-time and co-op or team-based game. I really like Pit Crew a lot, and I think that a lot of people would if they gave it a try. My number 5. I know that on the list, Tom, Mike, and Z said they weren't really going to include party games because that's oftentimes what you do with a higher player count. But number 5, Decrypto, not really a party game because it's too cerebral and thinky, in my opinion. Right? It's not like, ooh, we want to really crank this party up to 11. I got Decrypto. No, this is kind of like a heads down, really thinky kind of word game. You split into 2 teams. Each team has 4 words in front of them, and you're trying to give clues over 8 rounds about the same 4 words to make your teammates guess the first word, 4th word, 3rd word. But you don't want to give clues that are so obvious that round after round the other team decrypts your messages and is able to say, oh, their first word is boomerang, their 4th word is a wine. And so if you give too obvious of clues, the other team is going to start decrypting your code. But if you give too wild and ethereal of clues, then your team is going to get punished for not guessing the correct sequence, 1st word, 2nd word, 4th word. It works so well at 6 because you have 1 clue giver and then you have 2 people guessing per round. And I think that dynamic works great. It does go higher, but you don't really want to go much higher. And you don't want to really go much lower. 6, excellent for Decrypto. And number 4 is going to be kind of a twofer. This is Between Two Cities or Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I'm going to just here on out describe them as cities. But the idea, the central conceit of this game is that you and the player on your left are building a city. but also you and the player on your right are building a city, and you want to try and build the best city, but you want to build two of the best ones, because at the end of the game, your score is the lower of the two. So if I build one city that's worth, 90 points, another one that's worth 12, my endgame score is 12, because I tanked one of them, and I'm punished for that. I find that this game works really well with this large group, because you're only engaged directly with the other two people next to you. They're only engaged with the two people next to them, and so on around the table. And that works really well, because I like this kind of a collusive environment in which I'm working really well here, but also really well here. Also, if you have newer people to the table who haven't played a lot of games, you have people kind of working together and teamed up, which I find makes the game work really smoothly. If you want the slightly simpler version, play between two cities. If you want something with a little bit more wombo combo bonuses and scoring and stuff, then play between two castles of Mad King Ludwig. Both, I think, are great. My number 3 is a push your luck card game. Not only is it a push your luck game, it's called Push! Push! Salt and Pepper would be very happy with this pick. My number 3 game is you flip over cards, right? Easy peasy. The game is ugly as all get out. They look like Uno cards, but this is the game that put Prospero Hall on the map for me, because it's very engaging. You just want to make a really great pile of cards. Cards are worth 1 through 6 points, but you can't repeat colors nor numbers. You can make up to 3 stacks. Once you stop, you'll grab the best stack, and then the player next to you will grab one of the remaining stacks, and the next player will grab the third one. But if you bust, you will probably lose some cards, and then the next 3 players will each get to grab a stack of cards. So at 6 players, this is still really engaging, because even if you are the furthest person from the current active player, you're engaged. You're sitting there thinking, bust, 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 because if you do, I'm going to get some cards. But then all of a sudden some bad cards come out, and you think, oh, I don't want any of those stacks this round, so you're constantly always engaged. And so this is one of the best push your luck card games. I think it works fantastic at 6. If you haven't played it, you should check it out. You can get it usually pretty cheap. It's great. Number 2, this is an obvious deficiency from Mike, Tom, and Z's list. Wow, sorry. Sushi Go Party. Sushi Go Party is one of the best drafting games out there. Lots of variety, lots of variability with the cards. Also very easy, fun, engaging, delicious, cute theme. And it just works great. At the lower player counts all the way up to the higher ones. 6 is kind of a sweet spot where, some of the cards will get passed around again to you. But, I really like this one. What more can be said about it? It's a fantastic game. But my number 1... barring in mind, like I said, that, For Sale was already mentioned on the other list, so I'm not including it here. That would probably be my number 2. But my number 1 game, it's criminal that it was not said by any of the other 3. I'm contacting my lawyers. That's how criminal this omission was. My number 1 is a game called Ethnos. Ethnos is not exactly a looker. Many people have argued that. I think it looks fine. But it's an area majority game. You're getting hands of cards and playing sets of cards together so you can put discs out onto one of these 6 regions. And at the end of each round, you'll score majorities for the regions, first, second, and third place, basically. I love this game. But I also love the fact that it plays well. It scales at all player counts. It's a very engaging and good 2-player game. And it's fantastic all the way up to 6 players. This surprises me that it was on no one's list, because your turn is lightning fast. Draw a card or play some cards. There's a lot of games where, turns are fast and engaging, but then all of a sudden someone says, I'm going to do the action, play cards action instead of the draw card action, and then everything stops. This one is still lightning fast. I play a band of 3 green cards. I put out a disc. And then all the remaining cards that weren't in that hand of cards, that set of cards I put down, go face up into a marketplace. And so now the other players are super happy that I played a set of cards, because my remaining cards go out to the market. Everyone says, there's that blue wizard I was looking for. And you're like, it's so good. Every turn is fast. You will at some point ask, it's my turn? Whoops. And I think that's a sign of an amazing game that goes up to this player count. You're engaged with other people. You care about the majorities. You care about building big sets of cards, because that's worth points. Everything matters. Everything is fun about Ethnos, and everything's great with 6 players there. So that's my 10. If there's any that even I missed, like as I didn't put Power Grid on my list either, it's a bit long, but it works well with 6. But if there's others that I missed, go ahead and comment them, of course. And if you like this one more than the other people's list, then go ahead and, let me know. It'll be a good boost to my ego. So until next time, my name is Chris Yee. Thank you for coming by another Dice Tower Top 10 list. Have a great day.